Welcome to your Multicultural channel. This is the Newcomer Network, and I am Jocelyn Gilbert. Today, we are going to be talking about limiting beliefs. We all want to succeed in our projects. We want to make changes, but there's no changes if we don't change our mindset. Today, I'm having a special time with Catherine Lynn. Thank you, Catherine, for coming.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and we are going to be talking about this amazing topic, which is very important for us.
Absolutely.
Because we all want to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But before we start, please introduce yourself with our community.
Thank you for having me here, Jocelyn. I am super excited to be here. I'm super excited to have this space to talk, to have a platform where I can share my experience, my stories, as a woman, as a daughter of immigrants. I think that's so important to share our stories. Before we begin, I'm Catherine Lynn David. I am founder of Illuminate From Within Coaching, and my goal is to help individuals shine with their light and speak from their light. And sometimes we all know that there's this inner passion within us, a light that wants to shine, or we feel it, but there's something blocking it. There's something that's not allowing it to come out, or we recognize there's a feeling in terms of, I know I'm meant for something more, or there's more for me out there, but I can't put my finger on it. What's happening? And so what I've recognized in my experience, that sometimes that urge for something is your light that wants to shine, but we don't chase it because there are these invisible walls around us, invisible walls that we don't see, invisible walls that have been put before us from childbirth and from the experiences of our lives. And those invisible walls are those limiting beliefs that kind of give us a blueprint of how we should act or what not to do, that feed our emotions, that prevent us from taking actions, from chasing our dreams, but also sometimes those subconscious beliefs that can also help us get our goals, right? And so there's two things that beliefs play in our role. One is they can hinder us from taking action, and another is they can push us and elevate us and move us in taking action. Today, we're going to focus on the ones that are preventing us from taking actions. Those are those invisible walls, those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, Catherine, and something that when there's an issue, I would say an issue or a challenge, I think the main thing we have to do is find the root.
Yes.
So where do you think those limiting beliefs are coming from?
Mm-hmm. I love that question. As a subconscious reprogramming coach, that's a big question. And so for me, when I'm taking a look at limiting beliefs, what I've recognized when I'm working with clients, as we remove the layers, it shows up in our workplace and it shows up for us as an individual. But when we keep removing the layers, it takes us back to our childhood. Right? It's those beliefs that happen through things that we recognize, things that we've seen, experiences that have happened from the age of 0 to 9. During that time, those kind of form the blueprint of what is within our reach, what we're allowed to dream, how can we, get wealth or produce wealth, all of that stuff. So that's where it comes from those childhoods. So let me tell you, I love stories and I love sharing experiences.
Share one with us.
So for example, if I look at, my parents were immigrants. They came here, they sacrificed a lot. And a lot of us will hear, our parents sacrificed a lot for us to have opportunities, right? And it's not, sometimes those parents will say, oh, I've sacrificed so much for you. But also, we kind of see that, right? Growing up, we see the amount of effort and work that they put in order to be successful, what they have to do to put food on the table. As we watch that in our childhood, and as we watch that growing up, that gives us a blueprint for how do we achieve wealth, right? For many of us, generational wealth is not a thing. So we see wealth coming in from long hours, hard work. And so that forms a blueprint in me that in order to achieve wealth, in order to bring in money, I need to put in long hours. Now, for many immigrant families, that means working 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. That means sometimes sacrificing time with your family, right? And that becomes a norm. But it becomes a limiting belief when we think that that is the only way to achieve wealth, right? So for me, starting a business, and let's say things come easily to me, money comes in easily to me, I might think, oh, well, this is not right. in order for this to be right, I need to put in extra hours. I need to sacrifice sleep because that is what normal is. And so that becomes ingrained in how I achieve wealth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I follow those patterns, right? It also becomes another experience, and this is me as a daughter of an immigrant. I recognize how my parents react to other individuals, right? When they're in environments with like-minded people, I see them laid back. I see them having fun. I see them joking around. I see them having candid conversations. I see them having disagreements and being okay with disagreements. But when I see them in front of people who have authority or people who maybe come back from religious background or individuals who are Caucasian, I recognize as a child, they act differently.
Oh.
I recognize as a child, hey, they have to act differently in front of these authoritative figures. They act differently in front of individuals who are Caucasian. And then so I start adapting hypotheses, or I start adapting beliefs, right? Okay, it looks like there's a hierarchy here, right? And like beliefs are not true or false, but these are what we do as humans in order to survive. As humans, it is our innate nature to want to survive. It is our innate nature to want to belong. And so we watch how the people around us interact. And so when I'm watching my parents interact and I say, okay, it looks like there's a hierarchy here. It looks like in that hierarchy, there are people with privilege and there are people with not privilege. And when you're around people with privilege, you act a certain way. And so I adapt that. Do you see how? And so that limiting belief is I don't have privilege because I am not the same as these authority figures. I am not the same as these individuals who maybe are Caucasian. And so I start acting in ways to belong to that. And so as a child of an immigrant, that meant assimilation. That meant, how can I be more like them? How can I have a voice at the table? And so, as our parents often say, you need education. You need to educate in order to have and they never say you have to educate, so you have to have a voice. But they keep telling you education, education, education. And so I adopt, in order to have value, in order to have voice, I need to have a lot of education. And in order to be a part of this group of privilege, I need to act like them, right? Yeah. And so whether that's adapting to a culture that's not the same culture that is at home, I start to pick up tendencies. I start to pick up ways to act, ways to talk. And so when I'm presented in terms of, hey, do you want to learn your language? Or do you want to learn this language that is going to help you elevate? I obviously choose the one that's going to give me a little bit more authority. And so I've noticed that as an adult. And I did not pick that up as a child. But when I realized what was happening and those beliefs that I have and like, why am I acting this way? Why did I, as a child, think that there was authority? Why did I think I have to act a certain way around certain people? It's because I am mimicking what was happening around me. And it was not that my parents were ever not proud of their culture. They were definitely proud of their culture. But I was watching them survive as new immigrants and what they had to do as new immigrants. And so I adapted that. And it was not until recently that I realized, no, I am a child of an immigrant. And I have roots that are rooted in the Philippines, right? And those roots and those voices matter. And so now it is bringing those voices to the forefront.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I am reflecting on a conversation I heard a few months ago, and it was an immigrant and a child of immigrants who was telling her story when she was a child. She stopped bringing that rice and beans to school because she noticed that all her classmates were bringing sandwiches.
Right.
And she wanted to fit in. She wanted to be like others.
Exactly.
And wow, now that you're talking about your experience and that totally, I can put that together.
Absolutely, right? If it's rice and beans, or if it's how we speak, right?
Yeah.
Or accents. You know, you try so hard as a child growing up to not speak with those accents. And it's not that your parents never tried to teach you the language. And I grew up hearing that language. But I recognize, hey, the people at the table did not have an accent. The people who were sitting in leadership positions did not have an accent. And so in order for me to match that, I need to also not have an accent. And then when I saw people with an accent speak, what happened to them, right? And so all those beliefs were confirmed when I saw more and more individuals who did not look like me, who did not speak like me or like my people. Go ahead.
It's not about your accent.
Right.
It's about what you think about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And those are the limiting beliefs. No one will listen to me if I have an accent. I won't have a seat at the table if I don't look like them. Those are all limiting beliefs. Those are not out there. We might see things that confirm that. But at the end of the day, those can be torn down. Those invisible walls can be torn down. And what's super exciting about today is we're seeing more representation. Yeah. We're seeing platforms like this where we as women of color get to elevate our voices, share our stories and share experiences and say, no, we deserve a place at the table. You can be at the table regardless of accent, regardless of color, regardless of education. Your voice, your story, your experience, your knowledge, all of that matters. And so what's beautiful about things like this and platforms like this is we are showing other individuals that those beliefs are not true. Yeah. And that's the thing about limiting beliefs. They're true until they're proven false, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're proving those beliefs to be false. And I love being, part of the community that's doing that for others.
There's something that I usually say. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. Absolutely.
If you don't believe that you can, if you don't believe that you deserve a place at the table, or if you don't believe that your voice matters, then who's going to believe in you? Well, actually, I might believe in you, and this is where the action takes place. If you fear all of that due to those beliefs, your subconscious mind wants you to survive, wants you to belong. But if you're leading with the emotion of fear, then you're not going to take action.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do in my coaching. I look at those emotions, and underneath those emotions are beliefs. Yeah. And we prove those beliefs wrong. Right? We try to release those beliefs so that you can start taking actions. The way I like to explain subconscious reprogramming is you have these thoughts, you have these beliefs, whether they're ingrained in you from your experiences, whether they're ingrained in you from what you've seen or whatever that is. They're those blueprints that are there from childhood and through your experiences. Those beliefs create emotions.
Yeah.
And your emotions create actions. Now, if those emotions are rooted in fear or doubt or lack of self-confidence, are you going to take action? No, you're not, right? Because those are scary. But if your emotions are excitement or joy or thrill, then you're like, yes, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take action. So what I do with clients is I investigate what's happening behind those emotions, the emotions that are causing you to, or preventing you, or paralyzing you from taking actions. And then we release the thought that's connected to that emotion so that you can tear down that wall and start taking actions toward your higher purpose, towards your dreams and towards your goals and on everything you want to achieve.
Yeah. And this is like the second part of the previous episode, because we were talking about knowing ourselves in order to develop good relationships. Absolutely. And understanding our emotions.
Yeah.
And it's really important to understand how you feel.
Absolutely.
And try to tweak that into another emotion in order to react in a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to share something with you.
Great.
Last year, no, it was about 2 years. No, wait. And I cut this part, Julia. And I want to share something with you.
Please do.
A few years ago, we were going to a party.
Okay.
And I was going to meet for first time. Of course, I was going to meet for first time. Again, Julia. And I would like to share with you a story. A few years ago, I was going to meet a special person in my family. And my son asked me, Mom, are you nervous? And I said, why? because we are going to meet that person. I said, no, this person should be nervous because she's going to meet me. Yeah, of course. This is Jocelyn, Why should I be nervous? No, but it depends. I should have been nervous because it's their first time, and it's how you take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you've just demonstrated there is you have an emotion like nervousness, right? Well, that nervousness can paralyze you, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to go meet that person. Or that nervousness can give you like a jolt of energy and be excitement, exactly. And that excitement was like, no, they're gonna meet me, right?
Of course.
How lucky are they to meet me, right? And there's that mindset. Is that emotion creating you to stop taking action and paralyze you or freeze you so that you don't do anything or you want to stay home? Or is it creating you to move forward and take action and continue and moving and allowing you to move forward with something exciting? And so I love that. And so we can't look, and it brings up a good point, is we can't look at emotion as good and bad, right? It is the reaction it brings out of us, right? And so for you, nervousness didn't paralyze you. No. It actually allowed you to walk and take a step into something excitement. And that's the same, as entrepreneurs. And that's that the same can go for entrepreneurs, that can go into leadership or any of those positions. Yes, we're going to have nerves, but what are those nerves going to do for you? Help you walk into excitement and take this on and be like, yeah, I got this. They are so lucky to have me. I am so lucky to experience this. Or is it going to paralyze me? So I love that. And thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. Yes, I was working with newcomers in employment training. And I used to ask them, why would you feel nervous when you go to an interview? And it's normal.
Yeah.
You get nervous.
Absolutely.
And many people does. And they say, well, what if they don't hire you? Yeah, but what happened? What would happen if they don't hire you?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Right.
You can have other opportunities, other places you practice.
Yeah.
You take it like that as an experience.
Yeah. You bring up a very common belief, and that is fear of failure. Yeah. Right. And that fear of failure can be rooted in many things. One is, for me personally, that fear of failure is rooted in having to be perfect. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but my parents were all about the 100%, especially my mom, right? So, and I was a very strong academic student. So if I came home with a math test and it was 98%, 99%, you would assume, give her applause.
Yeah. Why you don't have a 100?
Exactly.
And they check all the grades. They check all the grades and they see the lower one. But why you have this one? Why you're not looking at the high grades?
What about applause me for this? So what did we learn in that? And not intentionally from our parents, right? They want the best for us. But what did we learn from that? We see that we only get applause if we're 100%. They're always looking for the weakest denominator in us, right? And they're focusing on this. Hey, I notice you're not doing so great in English class. What's happening here? Let's hire a tutor. All great things, right? Those are all great things coming from our parents are getting us help. But as a child, you're listening to this and saying like, how about the things I did do well in? How about the things that I am gifted in? Do those not matter? Or are we only focusing on the negatives? So now when I'm applying for a job, I'm worried that they're going to find something I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And that's going to paralyze me, or that's going to freeze me. And so what do? I don't apply, or I don't go for that interview, right?
Wow.
Because you're absolutely scared that they're going to find something. Or as women, when they say all the qualifications, this is a common one, and there's research that proves that women will not apply for jobs unless they tick all the boxes for the qualifications, right? Because they don't feel like, well, unless I meet 100% of those qualifications, I'm not ready to take on that job. Whereas the men, they can tick 1, 2, 3 boxes and be like, well, good enough for me, I'm going to apply. But there are capable women who are not applying for those jobs. Well, because somewhere in the past, perhaps there was this thing that told them, unless you meet 100%, don't go for it, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's those beliefs. And so here's the mindset shift.
Yeah, I remember one of my participants at class, she asked me, what if they don't call me when I send the resume? And I said, what if they call you?
Beautiful, yeah.
What if I go to the interview and they don't like me?
Right.
What if they like you?
Yeah.
And she kept asking questions, about 4 questions. What if, what
Yeah.
if, what if, what
Yeah.
if? And I was, what if, in a
Right.
positive way.
Yeah.
And she went to the first interview, she got the job.
Beautiful.
The first interview.
Right.
She was awesome.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's that mindset shift, right? Instead of, thinking of the worst case scenario, well, what if I don't get this job? Well, what if you do get this job? Well,
Yeah.
what if I don't know all the questions? But what if you do know all the questions?
Yeah.
Or what's the worst that can happen, right? Well, the worst that can happen is I don't get the job. Well, if you don't apply, you're definitely not getting the job. So now you're at least taking a chance that you might. Right now, there's 0% chance of you getting the job if you don't even take a chance.
Yeah.
Right? Versus you take a chance and at least there's a percentage that you can. Which one's better?
Yeah.
The mindset is take a chance. It's better than not getting the job at all, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I don't know if you've heard that analogy with, let's say, basketball, right? You miss all the shots that you don't take, right? If I keep shooting and I get 2 or 3 in, well, that's better than me not shooting at all and getting 0, right?
Yeah.
My percentage is a lot better if I take a chance. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I totally agree with that. Something that affects our beliefs also is the environment that we
Yes.
grow up.
Yes.
I know you mentioned the family,
Right.
but I would say the people,
Yeah,
other people
absolutely.
around us, at school,
Mhm.
at work, our friends. Because when we start hearing those voices,
Yes.
we stop believing in ourselves and believing
Absolutely.
what other people believe.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, when a person gives you an advice,
Mhm.
we need to be very careful with that, because people sometimes or mostly talk about them,
Right.
about their limitations.
100%.
And oh no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You are not prepared.
Yeah.
And I remember when
Yeah.
I started creating content, I
Right.
didn't have the perfect
Yeah.
cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't like makeup, and I
Right.
was doing my videos without makeup,
Yeah.
and people, but you look
Mhm.
horrible.
Mhm.
It depends on when you hear those voices,
Yep.
you start having that doubt.
Yes.
Am I good enough?
Yes.
What I'm doing is good enough.
Right.
And we are expecting to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we don't launch that business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we don't go to those places, because we have an accent.
Right.
That's why we think we are not capable. And that's why we don't apply to those jobs.
Yeah.
And that's why we stopped.
Mm-hmm.
We stop ourselves from doing so many things, because we believe we are not good
Yeah.
enough.
That's the thing about advice. Sometimes when you seek advice, other people will share with you their limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
right? It's not about what's best for you, but they're sharing their limiting beliefs. I have many examples of this. When I have young children, right? Now is not the good time for you, right? When I was doing my MBA, now is not the good time for you. I wouldn't do that. I would do this instead. I don't think, and you start hearing their limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And because they have limiting beliefs, they believe that and it's not like they're thinking you have to, but they're thinking, if these are my limiting beliefs, then then they're probably yours too. Because in order for the limiting beliefs to be true, that means they match everybody, right? And so when I was being told, now is not a good time for you because you're pregnant. Now is not a good time for you because you have young children. A master's in business is not a good idea, right? I'm an educator. The route of taking an MBA as an educator is not a common one. And so being told by others, that's not a good idea. If I listened to all the times that other people shared their limiting beliefs with me, unconsciously, I would not be where I am right now, right? I would not be thriving. I would not be starting my business. I would not be living in joy and in my light as an educator, as an entrepreneur, as a life coach, career coach, inspirational coach, leadership coach, all of those things, because I would be stuck in another person's limiting beliefs. Now just think about that.
Yeah.
Imagine stopping yourself, not because of your limiting beliefs, because of somebody else's limiting beliefs.
Wow.
Right? Oh, and that also is a caution to all of us.
Now I am reflecting in my successes, my life successes. And now, reflecting on that, I'm remembering that in each of those stages of my life,
Right.
I had people giving advice. This is not the right time. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Even when I came to Canada, so
Right.
many people asked me, why are you
Mm.
going to another country?
Mhm.
You are doing
Mhm.
good. You're
Yeah.
having your business. You're
Right.
doing great here.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You shouldn't move to Canada.
Right.
When I started my own business in
Yeah.
Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
many people the
Yeah.
same. It's not the time. You have small children. I
Yeah.
have a 3-month baby when I
Right.
started my business.
Oh.
3 months.
I had a 3-month-old when I started when I was doing my master's in business.
Yeah. And now, because I'm very involved in the community and I am very highly involved in different events,
Yeah.
one person told me a few days ago,
Right.
you're everywhere. You shouldn't. That's dangerous, you know. Being Winnipeg is very small, and when everybody knows each other, that's not a good idea. And I would say, no, let's
Good for
forget
you.
about that. Let's forget about that. Let's
Yeah.
keep working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what you are, Jocelyn? You're a trailblazer. You are taking the road less traveled, right? And that's an opportunity for us, right?
Yeah.
So when you take a road less traveled, you are showing others that they can do it too.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that you're doing that. And I love that you are on a stage and that you have a platform to share those stories.
Yeah.
Because there are other people who are thinking the same, right? There's going to be a viewer out there who maybe is also hearing stories. That's not a good idea. Now that's not a right time. That's dangerous for you. And we can listen to those stories, but it's important when we're listening to those stories is, are they giving me advice based on their limiting beliefs? Do they actually care about my best interest, right? And we can listen to them and still take action, but we can be smart, right? As a mother, I can recognize, hey, the reason why these individuals are sharing this story for me is because maybe there's a part of them that's worried. There's a part of them that's worried that I won't be there for my children during their early stages of life, and that's very important. And so I can still take action, but I can also be aware of what my actions are doing to others. And so I recognize what they're saying, and what they're really saying is, hopefully, if their intention is right, their intention could be they don't want me to succeed, or their intention could be like they are honestly really concerned about me as a woman, as me as a mother, and worried about me putting myself out there. What will that do? And maybe they're worried about me failing. As an individual, I get to choose. Yes, I might fail, but at least I tried, and from that failure, I will learn, right? I get to make a decision as a mother. Yes, I understand that there are risks, and I'm having conversations with my family, and we are sharing the risk. And I say, is this something we're ready to take on together? And so I can be prepared, but I'm not going to let someone else's limiting beliefs dictate whether I take action or not. Yeah. So I love that you're trailblazing, and I love that you're setting an example for others.
Oh, thank you. I didn't plan that.
Yeah.
And last week I was talking to someone, and that person mentioned she does not like to share the success in her life in social media, because sometimes people feel when other people are doing good, why I'm not doing that good. However, I think this is a way to inspire others, because I have noticed so many people feel they can't, feel they are not capable, and when they see others succeed, they feel inspired to do the same.
Yeah.
So this is a limiting belief that I don't want to show what I'm doing. I don't want to
gloat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm bragging about myself, and it's not about that. Yeah. It's when you show what you're doing, you can inspire others, but this is a limiting belief.
Yeah, and there's two limiting beliefs that are showing up there. One is the individual themselves feeling, you know what, they can't take up the stage, right? In all of their successes, they need to be humble, right?
Yeah.
And that could be one of the, and I'm not, there's nothing against humility, but perhaps they were told as a child, hey, you know what, like, take it down a notch. Right? You want people to join you. You need to make sure that you're humble. As a woman, you should be humble for people who to want to follow you. So there's there's a bit of that limiting belief. There's also a fear that others' limiting belief would prevent them from perhaps asking for help, right? So let's say the individual who's speaking is coming from a nonprofit organization. They are thinking on a broad stance of their whole audience. There's going to be people in their audience who love that, right? People like us who are like, yes, win, go for it. I love that. I love that you're trailblazing. I'm going to follow you. But they're also recognizing there are individuals in their audience who are a little bit nervous about all the wins, or who feel like they can't connect to that, or that doesn't resonate to them. And so for them, they might feel, I'm not worthy to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I think in the messaging, it's not just about being humble or not showing your wins, but also sharing the stories of how individuals surpass that I didn't feel good enough, or I didn't feel like I couldn't ask for support. So share the stories of people who didn't think they could get support and were able to ask for support, and the wins that they got from that. And I think then, instead of not sharing your wins, you need to think about how can my messaging include everyone?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think, Catherine, we can overcome that in general?
Overcome
those limiting beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
What would be just the first thing to do?
Right? Recognize it.
Yeah.
Recognize it. And so
how would you recognize it?
Okay. Oh, this is the good stuff.
Yeah.
This is where I get to play in my coaching, right? And so where do I find limiting beliefs, or where are they hiding? They're hiding under the emotions. Mm. So a common question I ask is, where do you want to go? What do you want to be? And what action can you be taking right now that you know you can take, but you're not doing it, right? For example, I'm not posting on social media, or I'm not signing up for that grant, or I'm not registering my business. You know how to do that. It's easy to post, right?
So why
are you not doing that? And then, well, I feel scared. I fear that blah, 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 blah. And you hear the emotion, and underneath that emotion is like, well, what's feeding that fear? Well, I'm worried that I won't get it perfect. I'm worried that people won't like it. I'm worried that, it won't connect, or people will laugh at me, or it's not good enough. All of those thoughts are the limiting beliefs. And then that's where we get to tackle, right? So if you want to find your limiting beliefs, look at the actions that you're not doing that you know you can do, right? It's not because you don't know. It's not because maybe you need some extra education or you need to learn how to do it. You know how to do it, but you're not doing it.
Yeah.
What's happening there? What emotion comes up for you? I'm scared. I fear of failure. I don't feel confident. Well, why are you feeling that? What thoughts are coming into place? Well, I'm not 100%. I'm not doing it right. Well, I'm not doing it right is probably rooted to that, what we were talking a while ago, unless you're 100%. Don't take action unless you're 100%. Okay, now and then when you recognize that limiting belief, the beauty of recognizing limiting belief is now you're at choice. Yeah. Do I want this limiting belief to have a wall in my life and help and direct me, or do I want to get rid of it? And I'm hoping you're going to say, I want to get rid of it. So in order to get rid of a limiting belief, we need to show your mind how it's false.
Wow. Hey, people, don't wait to be on your 100%.
Yes.
Okay? So thank you, everybody. Thank you one more time to our wonderful audience for being here at the Newcomer Network, Multicultural channel. See you next time. And thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
This is so good.
I hope you have enjoyed it. Bye-bye and see you next time.
Thank you.